Alright, hi everybody, and welcome to week 6. I have been trying to make videos and send them out. I apologize that they haven't been frequent. This is kind of a redo because I made one a couple weeks ago, but I'm not able to email it to everybody. So I'm going to try and hit a lot of information. It is week 6. We're almost halfway through the season. However, this is supposed to be like a learning instructional league. So when I send this out, if you have questions, even if they're like specific questions about your lineup, let me know. I want to be here to help. And so you feel like you actually learned something by doing this league this year. So I'm starting out on our team's fantasy page, and I'm on my my computer. Some of you may have had the app downloaded to your phone, which is good for checking your score. But when you're setting your lineup and actually trying to get into figuring out who is your best player, your best bet for the week, or trading out players, I really recommend doing it on your desktop. The app is good but not great, and it won't give you all the same information as the desktop, like the website will. So I'm starting out on our league's website. I'm going to go to our league homepage in Victoria's Secret, if it will let me, and it'll show me a lot of information on this first screen. So we have our scoreboard over here. This is who is playing who. Like, I'm playing Donnelly this week. It also has down here our overall standings. The 6 of us, as you can see, there's a waiver section over here that we're going to talk about. It'll give you your streaks. I'm on a 4-game win streak. Stephanie, who's contrary to Murphy's Law, is on a 3-game win streak, doing great. Megan Your Jacket and Long Island TDs are 1 and 4, but like I said, we're only halfway through the season, and that can change really quickly. So the thing about fantasy is you are never really out of it. Like, sometimes you are, but really there's a lot of chances to come back throughout the year. If you go down here to activity, you'll see what other people have been doing. Like, contrary to Murphy's Law, has made some changes at tight end. You'll also win these cute little trophies, which are weird, but they're also kind of fun. And if you scroll up and go to trophies right here and you click on it, like, look, these are all the trophies. Like, Raffy Bombs has won a lot of trophies. Good job. Hungry Hungry Hippos, contrary to Murphy's Law. So you win trophies for stuff, which is, you know, kind of fun. Most important thing you're going to see on this page right here is my notifications for your lineup. So if you have players with an injury report, you always want to check that out. I know I've had some people already who have left players who did not play in their lineup. And obviously, if you do that, you get 0 points for that week. So you want to check and make sure that your lineup is set with people who are actually going to get you points. You'll see some of my players over here have drop player signs, and some of them do not. This is an undroppable player. Randall Cobb is my undroppable. He's a franchise guy. This is the program protecting you from yourself. You can't drop these guys if you don't know any better, because these are very good quality players who statistically are going to get you points. Everyone, because our league is so small, we should all have at least 1, if not 2, undroppable players on our team. Example, Tom Brady's an undroppable player. You just don't want to get rid of the guy, okay? So as you can see here, you can get a lot of information from your injury report. You can get their practice status, which could be limited, full participation, or a DNP, which you can also see right here, did not participate. That's not a good sign. You don't want to bet your week on a guy who didn't participate in practice, because unless he's like a marquee guy who doesn't need to practice, like Calvin Johnson, that's a sign that his injury is bad. You also have these cute little red documents that you can click on, and they'll give you info about each individual player. And these are not all going to be bad. If you go into your team, which we will in a minute, you'll just get info about these guys. So, you know, like this one shows me that LaShawn McCoy, he's still really limited in his practice, but they're encouraged. No lock to play in this contest. So look, my dude has not played. We're on week 6, right? He hasn't played for 2 weeks. I'm not going to bet that even if he comes back this week, he's not going to produce the kind of LaShawn McCoy shady points that I'm used to looking. And his nickname is Shady. I'm not calling him Shady. Randall Cobb, however, you know, he got a full participation in practice. So I can just click on his name. They haven't really updated anything since last week. But I can see, like, looking over here on the left, his fantasy points, like, he was way up there week 3. And he hasn't been producing very well for me the last couple weeks. So it helps you kind of see patterns and things like that. Again, you definitely want to make sure that you're paying attention to your injury report so that you're maximizing the points. It's better to throw in a guy who's not good than to get nobody or no points for that week because you left a player who is inactive in your lineup. So friendly reminder that the week starts on the Thursday night game. So for example, my quarterback is Matt Ryan is playing Thursday night this week. That's games on the NFL Network. Then there's all the games on Sunday, and then Monday Night Football is the last game of the week. So you need to set your lineup before Thursday. If you have players playing Thursday night, there's a 10 a.m. start time on Sunday, and there's a 1:30 p.m. start time on Sunday, and those are Eastern time or Western Standard Time, depending on where the game is starting. So you also want to make sure that you're aware of, like, if you have a guy who's out and you want to check and see if he's going to play or not, you want to make sure that A, you're checking at the right start time to make sure you get him in, and B, you have another person playing around the same time that is an available switch. And what I mean by that is, like, look at Rashad Jennings at Monday night game at 5:30. Let's say we get down to it, and I'm like, oh, I need more points than Rashad Jennings is going to give me. Well, looking at my lineup, I don't have anybody else, if it came down to it, that is available to play on Monday night. So if I don't figure this out, like, before that time, I won't have another player to pop into that place, and I'll either have to pick someone up, or I'm just stuck with him, because everyone else will have played, and you can't substitute a player once the game has been played. Oops, sorry, I just moved my screen thing around there on accident. Another thing from this My Team webpage, or page that we're looking at, again, see we're in the My Team tab up here, is you have these green and red defenses. And this is another thing you're not going to get on the app. So green is good. Green means that these teams, these defenses, the opponents will give up a lot of points. 7th most, 3rd most, 3rd most. The red is not so great. Like the Chargers give up the 3rd fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. So I might not expect crazy production out of Randall Cobb this week. I always pay attention to this, and I try to play as many green teams as I can. But that being said, like, Gronkowski is a lock. Even if Indiana doesn't give up a lot of points, I'm not putting in Martellus Bennett against Detroit, even though, I'm sorry, Donnelly, but you know the Lions are just awful this year. Even though this is green, I'm not going to take out my guy, Rob Gronkowski, who should be undroppable, I'm pretty sure. He's a huge producer for me, and so I take it into account, but I don't necessarily go by it. Other things that you can, look at on the My Team. These are stats. So this is going to show me, as you can see right here, the 2015 season. You can do it by the last 2 weeks. You can do the stats by last week. You can all sort just how these people have produced for you. That's actually Carlson, huh? And then projections is another super useful tab. So when I'm setting my lineup, I always look at projections. What the many people who get paid to figure this stuff out at ESPN think, and their computers think about how people are going to do this week. So, for example, looking at my lineup, I have Carson Palmer versus Matt Ryan. Well, I know last week Matt Ryan only got me 6 points. He's playing a Thursday night game against a New Orleans team that gives up a lot of points to quarterback. Then I also have Carson Palmer, who, if you haven't been paying attention to Cardinals football, has been going nuts. Like nuts this last couple weeks. So, like, if I go back to stats and I just look at week 5, you can see this is what Matt Ryan did for me last week, and this is what Carson Palmer would have done for me if he wasn't on the bench. So I have to look at, who do I think is going to have a better week this week versus playing Pittsburgh, who just won a very emotional Monday night game against Chargers, versus New Orleans. So all things to consider. If, for example, I'm looking at Martellus Bennett, who I picked up as a tight end because Rob Gronkowski was on bye weeks. So I want to talk about bye weeks really quick. Bye weeks are basically weeks off. If I go over here, I can look into the future, and I can see for week 7, which will be next week, I have the Green Bay Packers have a bye week, and Martellus Bennett, the Chicago Bears have a bye week. So I can't play any of these guys that week because that's going to be a big old fat 0. So you definitely want to check each week and make sure none of your players are on a bye. They're all staggered throughout the season. Like the Patriots had a bye week on week 4. So those guys are all done with that. And they won't have another bye week. So once you get the bye week through, it's done for that specific player. But each player on your roster is going to have it at one time. So that's something to consider also. I want to talk about how to pick up players. Like example, looking at my team right here. Let's go back to projections for this week. I don't need another tight end. I really don't. I'm not going to start anyone but Rob Gronkowski for the whole rest of the year. So that's somebody I can get rid of. I have 2 kickers. I don't honestly. Oh, I think I picked up another kicker when this guy had his bye week on week 4. So, like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, let's say you want to add or drop a player, which some of you have already done, but I'm just going to go through it really quick in case there's some people who don't know how. So, you go to players up here on the tab. Everyone is sortable by their offensive position. So, and I should have thought this through. So, let's go back to my team really quick and see what I could use. Let's look for another wide receiver for me. So let's say I want to pick up a wide receiver. Or you know what? I want a better defense. Look at this. Philadelphia Eagles are only supposed to pick up 4 points for me this week. And I could use more than 4 points. So let's go to players. And I'm going to go to defense. And there are 2 ways that you can look at this. First is stats. Again, this is who has performed well during the 2015, well, how they performed during the season this year. So the most points, and it'll go down. You can also go to projections, and that's going to show you this week. What I like to do is see if there's a team or a player that hits both of these things. So like I've got the Bengals, Panthers, and Texans in projections. If I go back to stats, look, the Panthers are still there, even though the Bengals are way down here, and the Texans are probably even farther, my goodness. So, but the Panthers are playing the Seahawks this week. Do I really want to bet against the Seahawks? I could pick up the Rams, but they're on a bye week, so I want to make sure I don't pick up a player that I can't play with. You also want to look at who are free agents, and that's what this FA means. And I showed you that waiver schedule earlier. It doesn't look like we have any teams, any defensive teams on waivers, but I think we must have maybe a quarterback somewhere, or here we go. Like Jamal Charles, okay? He's very injured, so don't pick him up, but he's on waivers, which means that you can't just snap him up in the middle of, let's say, like Saturday morning. You can't just snap up Jamal Charles to play on Sunday. You have to go through waivers, which clear every Wednesday. So if they're not a free agent and they're on waiver wires, you have to wait until this date, like the 16th, which will be, oh, I guess it's not Wednesday, because they must go through on, they clear waivers on Friday. Huh. Oh, it's because it's a time thing. That's my bad. Okay. Still, waivers go through on Wednesday. He clears waivers on the 16th. So if you want to pick one of these guys up, you have to wait. And you put in the submission for it, and you'll get an email that says that your waiver request is either gone through or not gone through. Like Isaiah Crowell, he had a good week last week. Might be a good guy to pick up. Any other questions about waivers, just let me know. It's kind of a confusing, weird thing, but they basically do it so that you can't just be trading people instantly during a week with no consequences to it, because that can, affect how fairly everyone approaches the game, I guess. Game Center is a good place to check out. They make this cute little, like, fake news story for you. It'll see where your projections are projected to match up. So let's see, we got the battle of the tight ends this week. Chances you'll win this week, I'm only at a 40% chance, so if I really want to win, I'm going to have to make some changes to my lineup. And like I said, this was a lot of information. I was trying to cover everything that I was hoping to cover with people prior to this point. But again, if you have any specific questions, please let me know. Get in touch, send me an email, and I will happily address those for you. Oh yeah, I was going to look at everybody. So, Long Island TDs, Mike Evan is on a bye.